Do you ever feel like the clutter in your home is spiraling out of control, whether or not you have hoarding disorder? If you're even just stuck with the frustrating cycle of clutter and chaos, this video is for you. Today I have a special guest joining me, and we are going to be talking all about living with clutter, the cycle of it, but we're also going to talk about the mental health and the relationships and the amazing benefits of getting on top of all of our stuff. So join me and my special guest, Melanie Renee from A Hoarder's Heart. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to introduce you to Melanie from A Hoarder's Heart YouTube channel. Melanie, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I am. I have wanted to meet you for a couple of years, and I love your channel. I love your videos.
Great.
So tell me, so you started a YouTube channel about
Yep.
your hoarding tendencies, and I
Yes.
watched your first video, and you were bravely showing this room in your house, and then you showed that your whole house isn't like, it's not like you see on the hoarders channel or videos
Yes.
where it's like piled high. But tell us a little bit about what prompted you to start that channel and your hoarding tendencies.
Yes. So what prompted me to start the channel was that it just kind of laid on my heart. I had like this tugging of my heart of, you know what? I don't want to have this hoarding disorder and these behaviors kind of overconsume me, right? Like, I don't want to live in a hoarded house. I want my children to grow up in a nice house, not have memories of, being embarrassed of having kids over. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to clean this house. I'm going to clean it out. I'm going to recover my hoarding and I'm going to do it publicly. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, doing this publicly is, I don't know if I can do that. But when an idea just tugs at your heart consistently, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I started my YouTube channel, but I hid my face. That was the compromise that I gave to myself because I wasn't ready. I wasn't emotionally ready to receive any type of harsh judgment or negativity because I was already ashamed to show it. So in my mind, I was like, I will do this, but I will hide my face so that no one can identify me. And I did that for the first couple of years. Yeah.
Wow, good for you. I mean,
Yeah,
it's brave to come on to do something like that and to expose yourself. I mean, and I know it's scary to start a YouTube
it is.
channel, but especially to be showing something that maybe you're embarrassed by.
Deeply embarrassed. And everyone with hoarding disorder, we are so deeply ashamed and embarrassed. And that's why we don't seek help because we can't process that outside judgment because it's just validating all the pain that we have within
Mm.
ourselves. That's why we isolate. That's why we hide it. Nobody knew I had hoarding disorder. If you saw me in the outside world at my work, I was always dressed nice. I was organized at work. I didn't hold on to clutter at work, so to expose my little secret behind my door would be so shocking to people. And again, that's why people with hoarding disorder hide it. And that's why I want to humanize it to let other people know that you're not alone. There's many reasons why we do it and that we can clean it together. We don't have to be ashamed anymore because there's millions upon millions of people who have hoarding disorder that hide it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did you realize that you had hoarding disorder?
Knew from college. I mean, I knew from a childhood. I showed signs as a child without even any trauma to kind of like ignite those behaviors. I was a very imaginative little girl, and I would have all my little ponies and Care Bears and Cabbage Patches, and I humanized them as a child. I'm an only child, so I would play with them for hours upon hours and hours and make them come to life. And when it was time to clean or declutter anything, I was like, no, let me hold on to all my magical items. Don't let go of my ponies. Don't let go of my rainbow brights because they felt real to me. They were my
Mm.
friends and my sisters and my family because it was just so real to me. So my mom kind of just left me alone. My mom, believe it or not, would be considered a minimalist.
Yeah.
She was just like, as long as it's contained in her room, she's always playing with it. I'll let it be a mess. You know what I mean? And she always thought she'll grow out of it. She had no idea. Neither of my parents had any idea that I had hoarding disorder.
Wow, that's so interesting. And so then as an adult,
Yes.
um, then what was life like? Like you because in the video, obviously like not everybody's seen it, but you show this room that
Yes.
used to be, different kids' rooms.
Yes.
And that's where it looked like you kept like most of your stuff. And then the rest of the house looked pretty clean, except for maybe the
Yeah.
basement.
The basement was the main hoard.
Yeah.
Then that room was the hoard, the laundry room. I have a huge back shed. We have a huge garage. We have an attic.
Yeah.
And I was a manager at a storage facility center. So I had lockers. So I had
Yeah.
lots of little hiding places to put it. And though the kitchen had a lot of clutter, same with like the living room, you could tell when you walked into my house that there was definitely a lot of clutter. There was some form of like hoarding. I had a bathroom that was hoarded to the brim. You could tell, but those front rooms you could navigate through, but still very embarrassing to show. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And so, as an adult, you just kept collecting things. Like and there was one person I
Yes.
worked with once. She was just like, I never even knew you could get rid of things. It just never occurred to me. Is that
No,
sort
I
of how you
never.
felt?
Yes. It was so for me and my hoarding, because as a child, it was my happy place, where I could imagine and create and just feel like I was my authentic self. To let go of anything felt like I was letting go of myself, my personality, who I was as a person. That as I got older and then trauma did occur, in a sense that I was very badly bullied in middle school, like sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. They were horrible. Like this is like the 90s when like bullying was bullying. Like it
Yeah.
was, it was terrifying. So how did I cope with that? I came home to my room with all my stuff and all
Oh
my
my
drawings and
gosh.
all my posters and all, and that was my escape from my bullies. So it started to come my coping mechanism. And then when I was even a little older and I had a very abusive boyfriend, very abusive when I was 17 and 18. And how I escaped that trauma was again coming home to all of my stuff. Oh, the bracelets, they make me feel beautiful. They're not going to judge me. My clothes. Oh, see, you are beautiful. You're not the awful things that he says that you are. Hoarding was consistently being coded as this is what rescues me. This is what saves me. This is what calms my anxiety, my depression, my negative self talk. It was just an escape and it was a way to regulate my nervous system. So that's why I never let any of it go.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's so insightful.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, that I mean, just because like obviously like I have a channel about decluttering and I often say like this is not for people with hoarding disorder because I feel like that is or
Yes.
like when I'm actually like working with people, I'm like I'm not qualified for that. But and that explains so much because it runs so deep.
Yes. Yeah.
So how was at what point did you realize it was an actual issue?
I knew it was an issue in college because now you have roommates and you can't close your bedroom door and hide it from everyone. So when I started having roommates and then those rooms, which would start out pretty neat, all of a sudden got cluttered. And then you would kind of see the friends' rooms be kind of neat and organized. It was funny how I always lived with organized people. And they were like, whoa, do you need help in your room? Like sweetly asking, do you need help cleaning out your room? Like, we can help you. We can. And I'm like, no, my room's fine. I'm happy where it is. And that was the first time I almost felt a little bit of a, yeah, this isn't normal because it started coming into reality of like, yeah, I guess I do have a lot of stuff and my roommates' rooms are really nice and neat and organized. And it but it wasn't enough to make me change. It wasn't enough to be like, but you know what? It makes me happy. I'm just gonna stay with all my messes and my clutter and stuff. Like it wasn't enough to push me over the edge to actually change.
And then as progressed in life and you have, how many kids do you have?
I have
Two,
two,
two boys?
two boys. Yeah.
Yes, I've got three boys, so I totally get the boy
Oh yeah,
mom
boy
life.
mom.
I know.
And
I
I
just
love
love,
it. I love being a boy mom.
yeah.
They love their mamas.
Yeah, and they're so wonderful.
They are.
Um, and so you then at what point did you realize, because you made that video and it was like you were like, I'm doing this, like I'm going to make a change. What prompted you to make a big change in life, to take control?
It was probably my kids back then because they were a lot younger when I started that. And I remember them saying, "Oh, mommy, I want a house like Aunt Anna or Aunt Jenny," which are my best friends who are very clean and organized. And they're like, "We want a house. I want a house like that. I want a nice house like Aunt Jenny, Aunt Anna. And I want my friends to come over." And when I realized that they're only like, 9, I think he was 9 at the time, saying that realizing that his house is different from everybody else's and that he wants friends over and now he's feeling embarrassed by showing our house to everyone. That was such a shock to my system in the sense that it's like, you have to make a change for your kids because if your children are starting to feel embarrassed by it and they're only 9, then I want to turn this around for them. I want to change for them. That was my why. My kids were my why, right? Because you want a better life for them that you had, you always want them to strive and be happy. And it was just that driving force that was like, all right, let's start to look within. Let's start to make these changes. Let's see if I can get this house to where he doesn't feel embarrassed anymore to have people over.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is just so sweet. And I know like kids can really be that like that thing that moves you. And so do you know how hoarding is defined compared to somebody who has clutter?
Hoarding is defined in like different levels. So there's I'll sidetrack you for a minute because I am ADHD too.
Yes,
I
and I
think,
was going to ask you about that too.
yes, I'm
But yeah.
ADHD hoarding disorder, and those two combine their superpowers all the time. But
Yeah.
I would like to change what defines hoarding disorder, but right now, what they have is there's a scale from 1 to 5, and it's the amount of clutter that is in your home. Now, what they categorize as a level 1, I feel like a lot of people have. Like, I have friends who have stuff on the table, some stuff in the corner. Uh-oh, we got a closet we don't want to show,
Yeah.
and then it goes all the way up to level 5, which is what you see on the Hoarders Buried Alive shows. That's level 5. That is way, way up there where there's unusable toilets you can't walk through. A lot of times that's also with squatter syndrome. Squatter syndrome is different from hoarding disorder. Hoarding disorder, you have a lot of the clutter and the stuff. Squatter disorder, they're the ones that hold on to like the dirty diapers, the
Mm.
rotting food, that kind of stuff. I didn't have squatters disorder. But a lot of times, if you have level 5 hoarding, you always have squatters disorder alongside with it. Um, so that's how the medical field kind of defines the different levels. Of course, in the middle of that scale, it increases, okay, you have one unusable bathroom, you have one, whatever. For me, I want the scale to look like how easily can you let stuff go? Because
Yeah.
you can have a completely cluttered like garage and be considered on like the hoarding scale, but people will empty it out in one day. And I'm like, well, that's not hoarding.
Yeah.
Someone with a hoarding door is not going to just be like, yeah, get rid of it all. I don't care. I just maybe I'll keep a couple of things. Hoarding disorder is going to look like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get rid of it. Maybe I can let that go, but can I keep the rest? I'd rather the scale of like 1 to 5 be like, how easily can you let go of stuff? 5 being extreme, I can't let go of anything. 1 maybe being, oh, I can let go of like 10 to 15 things in like one session, and still feel like my nervous system is regulated. I'd rather see a scale like that. But that's how the medical field kind of, distinguishes hoarding disorder is how much clutter is in your house.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting because I watch your videos and you're decluttering like all the
Now I am, but
time.
it took some time. Took 5 years.
Yeah. Wow, you're so and good for you. Now you mentioned and like I have ADHD and you have ADHD
Yeah, first.
and yeah. So how and this is the thing is like for me I'm the type where I don't function well when things are cluttered. I mean I can but not
Yeah.
well. But a lot of people with ADHD they function pretty darn well with it.
It does. It almost like it's almost like all the clutter and all the stuff is like entertaining the extra noise in my head so that I can focus. It's almost like if it's not there, I'm almost like, oh, 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 focus. Okay. Oh, it's almost like it
Yeah.
entertains my brain. I don't know why, but it does.
Do you find it harder to be in rooms that are more minimal?
Yep. It actually
Interesting.
makes me nervous. It makes
Yeah.
me, if I'm in a very minimalist house and traditionally a minimalist,
Yeah.
to it's considered, I almost feel alone. Like I feel like alone. I feel like
Mhm.
scarcity, even though it's not scarcity. That's how my brain and my nervous system registers it. It just registers as I'm scared, I'm alone, I'm by myself, there's no creativity, and it triggers my anxiety. But when I see like I'll take, for instance, this wall right over here has a painting that my Tia Piva painted. It has family pictures on the wall and stuff like that. And, it makes me think, yeah, my Tia Piva is with me. That's my aunt from Chile. Oh, here's my family. Because I humanize all these objects, it makes me feel like I have somebody with me all the time. I don't feel alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And I think that I like like go on a side tangent. My husband and I were watching a video of a house, like it was a house tour of a house that was for sale, and it was so white. Like it was obviously staged, but
Yeah.
everything was white. And I was just like, I couldn't have like at first we were like, oh, that's nice. It's so like calming and minimal. But then it was like almost like,
Yeah, like it's sterile, right? It's
yes.
sterile. I can't touch anything. I have to sit in my little space because I don't want to mess up the, the white walls or anything. Like it feels very sterile. And that kind of makes my anxiety kind of go, ooh, I don't know about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm curious, so I watched your video on the collab we did recently, and you were talking
Yes.
about decluttering Halloween stuff. And you have like a
Yes.
lot of costumes, a bunch of
Yep.
really cool like ornaments and stuff, but you decluttered it all. And it made me wonder if do you like to shop? Like how do you get all of this stuff?
Oh, that's a good thing. Now I was a shopaholic, but I recovered in that right after college.
Oh,
So I haven't had shopping issues since then. Believe it or not, I'm like debt free except the mortgage. I don't shop a lot. It's actually amazing what you can accumulate for free or for
mm,
hardly anything at all. A majority of my hoard was from free cycle and curb pickups, like on trash day, and they're
mhm.
throwing away a beautiful dresser. Oh my gosh, like let me pick this up. I can recreate it into something beautiful. Or yard sales, because people will be like, just take it all for $3. Like most of my hoard
Mm.
was free because I was saving it from a landfill because I could give it new life, I could recreate it into something new. And a funny thing is that back so when I'm about to age myself here. So I graduated college 2005. Then I got married in 2007 and got pregnant. Now, what happened in 2007? Houses were outrageous, just like they are now. We bought a house, they shouldn't have given us the loan. We were house poor. And because we were so financially strapped and I didn't have money to buy stuff, that's where the hoarding just shot up. I saved literally everything. That's where the trash started. Say I started saving trash because I could create, trash into treasure. I can create functional
Mhm.
things. That's when the curb shopping really started. That's when the free cycle. I was getting literally. I furnished my entire house with free cycle and hand-me-downs. That's how I provided for my family. And if I couldn't use it at the moment, I squirreled it away in the basement. I didn't spend a dime on any of that hoard. That sometimes there are people with hoarding disorder who have like shopping addictions, but there's a lot of us who don't, who are kind of eco hoarders, but
Yeah.
most of my hoard was for free because I was saving it.
Yeah, that's really common. Actually, somebody who I worked with recently, that was her thing is I can save it. I can fix it. I can this, I can that. And even for me, like this microphone I'm using, I had one I was using before and it broke. And I just
Yeah,
thought, okay, this is like a $200 microphone,
yeah,
and then I was like, can I sell it? Do I donate it? Like, what do I do? Obviously I can fix it. Right. So I
yeah,
get that because we think like there's value in things and saving, or like, and getting things for free, of course, like scarcity
yes,
mindset is huge.
yes,
And I think a
yeah,
lot of people, the stuff around them brings a level of security. Did you feel like that?
yes. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Because I didn't, my husband didn't have to work, overtime to try and get this object because I had it squirreled away in the basement. It made me feel like I was providing for my family. And the problem with hoarding is that, well, we are resourceful. The problem is there's no boundary to that resourcefulness. Everything has a potential. I feel like people who are resourceful, who are good at like, I'm going to save this and I can repurpose it, they have a boundary. They have a line. Okay, this is how much stuff I'm going to hold on to. Or the hoarder just saves and saves and saves because there's infinite possibilities to save it. And we're just going to squirrel it away until we find the time, which never really happens. But it keeps my nervous system like sound and regulated because I know I have it. I know it's somewhere in the house and that makes me feel calm so that I can function and look like, like function in the world and look like I have everything together, in front of people. But yeah, that is the basis of hoarding. The reason why people hoard and save, it's because it's self-soothing, either anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD. There's like a plethora of different disorders that it self-soothes. So that makes us feel regulated so we can just function throughout our days.
Wow. What is
Yeah.
the worst bit of advice you've ever received? I'm sure you've had a lot of people
Oh,
that want to
the
help
worst
you or they
thing.
make comments. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The worst thing you could do to a hoarder is throw it all out in one shot.
Mm.
That's never going to work. You might think through your lens because you don't have hoarding disorder. I'm going to come in, we're just going to throw it all out, and then she'll come back to this beautiful home. No, you're literally going to give a hoarder a mental breakdown and you're going to escalate that hoard even more because they're going to feel so out of sorts and so anxious or depressed or something that, okay, I need to self-soothe. What do? I'm going to hoard even more. I'm going to have a tighter grip on it. I'm going to even hide it more. It's almost like I'm just going to hoard until the pain stops. And that's it. Like I said, there's no number. It's not like if I hoard 10 things, I'm going to feel good. I'm just going to keep hoarding until the pain subsides. The issue is that we're never addressing the pain. We're just putting a band-aid on it with clutter. So that's the worst
Absolutely.
advice. Never clear out a hoarder's house in one shot thinking that they're going to love it. They're not. They
Yeah.
just can't mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually process it. It has to be baby steps.
Yeah. What techniques or strategies did not work for you when you were trying to address?
That's a good one. So when I first kind of came out, the KonMari method was huge, and I did it. I did a video on it. It was the hardest thing I ever did because I was too early in it. It's a great strategy. It works for me now because I've gotten conditioned to now decluttering as a positive experience and not decluttering as a negative experience. But if you're someone with hoarding disorder, just starting, KonMari method's going to be so overwhelming because now you literally have to pull everything in front of you. And if you're like, well, pick out what sparks joy, and you're like, well, this sparks joy and that and everything I see sparks joy. I'm overwhelmed. I can't let go of anything. It's just validating that pain that I can't clean out. So I would just say that was the hardest for me as someone who was just starting their recovering journey. That was hard. I'll be honest, a lot of decluttering strategies for hoarding disorder is incredibly hard because you have to address the emotional before you address the logic. And that's it. That's the basis of it. With hoarding, you have to address the emotional first. Then the logic can start to come in. Why am I holding on to this cup? Why do I feel the need that I can let it go? Or how can I let this go? I know I have 50 other cups, but I just don't want to let this go. See how it's an emotional decision, not a logical decision. So it's like, okay, well, why am I attached? Well, I'm attached because I was with my niece when I got it. She picked it out for me, and now I just love this cup and I'm just going to use it and hold on. It's an emotional attachment. It has to start to look at it like, well, I can let this go because I have other memories of my niece. Whatever that story looks like, they have to walk through the story and start to detach it. Because once you bring it to the surface and talk about it, you're not suppressing the feeling anymore. You're not suppressing the pain of holding on. You're bringing it to light. And now it's like, oh, that's why I've been holding on to it as an emotional, attachment. Oh, all right. Well, maybe I can let this go because I have another cup that my son gave me, or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a story. It's all an emotional journey to let go. And once you consistently start to let go and you get positive reinforcement, like I did for my YouTube channel, again, all of a sudden decluttering is positive. Like, oh, if I let this go, I'm having a positive experience, not a negative, experience where I'm going to go have a panic attack if I let it go. That's another key, is a lot of positive reinforcement. Even if a hoarder lets go of one thing and they have hundreds of thousands of things, congratulate them on that one thing because it took probably 10 mental battles to get to that point. Yeah.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
so good. I love that. Okay, so I was going to ask you what works well for you, and you explained that really well. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I would say with hoarding, it's baby step decluttering. That
Mhm.
was the only thing that I always talk about that on my channel. It's that I had to start with the smallest section of my house, the little drawer, the littlest
Yeah.
junk drawer. And then just looking through it and saying, okay, I want to keep this. I want to, I think I can let that go, but start very, very small. And another big thing is that I allowed myself to hold on to things that I wasn't ready to let go of. I gave myself that grace because the moment I start getting rid of stuff and not ready to let it go, I'm going to regress because now I'm having anxiety. I'm having a panic. Decluttering is now being recoded as a negative experience. I had to say, okay, I'm allowing myself to keep the 10 things, but I'm going to let this one thing go because I still feel calm if I let this go. And I never put guilt on myself for keeping things that I wasn't ready to let go of. I think that was another huge reason why I was able to recover so well, so early, and continue that journey to have these bigger decluttering piles. Because again, it's positive. It's not negative anymore. I feel happy when people say, good job. It's like, yeah, I can do this. It's just this continuous positive cycle. But even now in this journey, if I'm not ready to let it go, we're not letting it go. We're going to curate it. We're going to put it in a labeled bin so I know where it's at. So it's not like everywhere. And I found over time that the things like last year that I held on to with a tight grip, all of a sudden lost its meaning. And I can let it go a year later because I never forced myself.
Yeah. All right. I love that. Okay. And I always say I love that.
Yeah, me too. I'm like,
But
oh,
I
loves
do.
it.
It's so good. It's so good.
It is.
How has life improved or changed since you started this journey?
It's definitely improved in the sense that I'm not as embarrassed to let people come into my house if they come unannounced. It's almost twofold in the sense that it's like, okay, the house is a lot cleaner and I'm not as embarrassed. But the main reason is why I think because I publicly was vulnerable with it, that I'm not ashamed of it anymore. Like if somebody comes into my house today and there's like the hot spot on the table or a little clutter in the pile, I don't have to hide it. They lovingly know I have hoarding disorder and they lovingly accept it with me. So if there is a pile, it's like they don't even see it. And they're like, oh, girl, that's nothing. You know, I think it's just having that calmness that I don't have to feel embarrassed and mortified anymore. I don't have to hide my dirty little secret. It's out there and people lovingly accept it. And there's such a relief in that. There's such a calmness and peace in that, that I don't have to worry about being judged for my clutter because everyone knows where I am in my journey. That's the biggest relief, is letting go of that anxiety.
Yeah, and the thing is, you are open about it, you're vulnerable about it, and everybody has something that they are,
Yes.
you know, ashamed of or whatever. And
Yes.
you're just like, this is mine. There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, it took some time.
Yeah.
But it took a lot. It took some time, but it also happened because I had a loving, I still have a very, very loving YouTube, family and
Yeah.
acceptance, right? When you get that outside acceptance that, hey, it's okay, I get it, and I'm rooting your rise, there's so much power in that. And that's why I almost feel like there's such an exchange, right? Like that I'm like cheering them on, like you can do it, and they're cheering me on. It's like this collective empowerment together of love and acceptance of like, you know what? Yeah, here's the mess, but we got this. We're going to do it. We can clean it up. We totally got this. There's so much love and power just within that. And I feel like that's a huge reason why I recovered, was because I had uh, just the best people surrounding me.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I absolutely love the people that watch my channel too and that comment.
Yeah.
And it's just so lovely, especially compared to like some channels. Some people deal with
I
just
feel so bad for
horribleness.
some channels because it's like, oh, what do
Yeah.
you do with negative comments? And I'm like, I really rarely get them. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have such, that's why I call them my YouTube family, because they
Yeah.
feel like my family. And it's like almost like they know me, and I'm starting to get to know them so well on these real raw levels, and just truly just care about each other. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a wonderful thing.
I love that. Okay. Well, tell us about your channel. You also have a really good Instagram. I love your Instagram. So
Yes. Oh,
tell
thank
us.
you. Yep. So I have, my main platform is my YouTube channel called A Hoarder's Heart, and it's where I show it all. Like I share the messes, and I'm very open and vulnerable and can actually put the words to my emotions as to why I'm hoarding it, and also can kind of talk myself as to, I can let this go. This is how we let it go. We can do this together. It's just a really beautiful platform that has just blossomed over the years. And my focus is more on emotional decluttering and not so much your logical decluttering. Because though I'm starting to be able to logically let go more of, the main thing is emotional. That's how I declutter, is my emotional decluttering. I also have an Instagram that I'm trying to build up now that I have more time on my hands. I want to build my Instagram up, and I also, have a TikTok too, because I figured if you're going to make the reels, you might as well put them on both platforms because you have
Yeah.
both reels in that. So yeah, that's where you can follow me for now. And I'm looking forward to growing more. I really do, because I know in my souls of soul that I was called to humanize this disorder, because I feel like, unfortunately, there's such a negative stigma attached to it, and it's because of the isolation, it's because of the hiding, it's because nobody really put those words to it to understand. But I noticed that the moment I started putting words to it and why I did it, everyone was so lovingly understanding, like, I get it, I understand, right? Hoarding is my vice. I don't drink. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't have any other negative behaviors other than hoarding. That's what self-soothes. That's the behavior that self-soothed my nervous system before, but we're changing that. But again, just bringing it to light to be like, this is what's truly going on in hoarding disorder. This is the mindset. This is the process. These are the emotions. These are the reactions. And I feel like the more we bring light to that, the more people will be able to come forward and heal and recover and let go. And that is the ultimate goal right there.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're an absolute gift. I love your videos. It was so great to meet you. Thank you
Yes, it was
so
amazing.
much for being here,
Yeah, oh
Melanie.
my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It was an honor, and I love your platforms too. Like,
Oh,
they are amazing, and I'm like, okay, girl, okay, we got this.
thank you. All right. Well, I will see you next time.